Welcome to FilmIn5D, the show about everything film with the 5D Mark II. I'm your host, Aaron Hammond.
And co-host, Kolton Cash.
Yeah. So this week we're doing things a bit differently as we move into the pre-production aspect of filmmaking. So basically, I've been wanting to get into pre-production for a while now because most YouTube tutorials focus on post-production, but pre-production is just as, if not more important. I'm not gonna lie, I hate doing pre-production, but from my experience, it will save you the headaches and the mistakes you'd run into during production and post.
So for about 4 episodes over the next 2 months, we're going to cover some of the important steps you should take during pre-production.
Now, we'll be focusing on the independent structure of things, and that's how I work, and more than likely that's how you produce too. This week, I'll start off with the brainstorming phase, which most people skip and go right into writing the script, but to me, it's very important. Alright, so the first thing you should be doing if you're brainstorming is you really need to take notes. You take a notepad with you everywhere. I mean, if I go to the movies, I'll take a notepad with me so that in the car I can write down, certain inspirations I had while watching the film. Another good place, and not a lot of people do this, but there's a lot of filmmakers out there that do this, I think. I think Christopher Nolan's a good example, and I think everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Dreams.
Yes, dreams. I have a notepad by my bed, and they say the funny thing about dreams is that you forget 90% of it 10 seconds after you wake up. So if you don't have a notepad there to quickly jot down what you saw visually, then, it's going to be hard to remember basically later in the day.
Pen and paper seems a little old school. What about like electronics,
Well, okay, I don't exactly carry a notepad around with me when I go to the movies. I use my iPhone or whatever, or tablet if I have it on me. But yeah, by your bed, quickly, because you can't. Have you ever tried to send a text message when you first wake up? It's kind of hard to touch screen. So just quickly jot it down. Sometimes I can't really read my writing, but about 2 years ago, I wrote down that I had a dream where I was a zombie. It was all first person, like most dreams are, and I didn't know I was a zombie until the very end of my dream. It was kind of a nightmare because I was helping people during the zombie apocalypse, and all of a sudden I look into a mirror and I see that I've become a zombie at some point during that. And so I wrote that down, and the zombie looks in the mirror and you get the point of view, and it's kind of a shock, and that's how the movie would end. And I had that stuck in my mind for 2 years, and I couldn't figure out how to make that into a short film. I mean, you can't really have all point first person short film. I mean, it doesn't really work. So now I finally want to make it. Zombies are very popular, and we'll get into the audience and determining your genre and stuff. But I really wanted to make a zombie film, and I wanted to base it around the end of this movie. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I mean, all I've written are the synopsis for the main character and kind of like the plot outline, but I haven't written the script yet. We're just in kind of research, brainstorming mode. And
Yeah, so the movie is going to be about some guy who falls asleep and dreams about being a zombie?
No.
Is that it?
No. The movie, and correct me if I'm wrong on YouTube, leave a comment below, but I've never seen a serious film or short film from the perspective of the zombie. Now, I've seen comedies where they make fun of the cliches of zombie films, and they kind of poke fun at it, and they have jokes, and the zombies talk, but we're setting out to make a realistic portrayal of a zombie film from the perspective of the main character who's a zombie. And it's kind of hard because zombies don't talk. And at the same time, we wanted to remain true to the genre and its fans. And so we did some research. Kolton actually did the research. And we're doing this week to week, and you guys are going to kind of follow us along as we do it. Like I said, we haven't written the script yet. But he's going to tell me basically the 3 types of zombies that we could go after.
Okay, the first zombie I've got for you is the infected, right? Now, if you think about 28 days later, that's where you find these kinds of zombies.
It's like the rage, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
They never actually died. They just got infected and then went in rage.
Mm-hmm.
What's significant about how would you kill that zombie? Can they die over time, or?
Okay, these zombies typically are significantly less durable than regular zombies, and people would actually say that they're not really zombies because they're technically still alive.
There's rabies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anything like a torso shot would kill them. They would bleed out over time.
What about lack of food? I mean,
yes, exactly. They actually need food.
Could they survive on humans? What is zombie?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they need nourishment, and they'll die over time. Essentially, they only have a lifespan of maybe a couple of months. And they'll starve.
That's probably my favorite zombie for, those quick cut zombie films, really super tense thriller kind of.
Yeah, definitely, because they're so
super,
fast.
Yeah, super fast paced, and it's probably the most realistic. Like if you want to argue about real, I mean, none of us think that zombies apocalypse would actually happen, but if there was one to happen, it would probably be that one. So what's the next one?
I think it might be more appropriate to do the Romero first.
Okay. So we have the Romero zombie, probably the original zombie. Don't quote me on that, but
yeah, you'll find these in like Dawn of the Dead or Land of the Dead or any of the Dead movies, I guess.
So how does this zombie differ from the Rage?
Okay, well this one is a much more traditional zombie, as you would think, like the shambling and all that kind of jazz. It's an actual dead person that's been reanimated. The thing with this one, in the traditional Romero zombie thing, once a zombie apocalypse starts, you actually don't have to be bitten or killed by a zombie to be turned into a zombie. Just everyone who dies will rise as a zombie, unless.
So is it kind of like an airborne virus versus like a transfer through the mouth and stuff?
The thing is, in my research, I didn't really find any sort of concrete answer for this. It's kind of just a mystery.
Yeah, well, I think I think we're gonna do that too. I think a lot of directors like to leave it kind of obscure and not give you the answer for what exactly happened. So you're always wondering. Versus like a movie like Resident Evil where you know what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Most other zombie films, you don't actually get the concrete, like what happened.
Yeah. What I found with the Romero zombies, things tend to be very liberal. There's various interpretations of the zombies in the Romero zombie. And interesting thing about these zombies is that some of them actually retain memories. And throughout some of the movies, they're actually shown to be able to learn over time. So these zombies have a little bit more functioning in their brain.
Well, that sounds like, if your main character is a zombie, then you kind of want them to be that kind of like zombie that remembers stuff and sees faces and can like be somewhat cognizant of their surroundings and where they lived and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I read about this type of zombie. So.
All right, and then what's the third zombie?
Okay, third zombie. I got a Max Brooks zombie. These are basically a more realistic version of the Romero zombie. And,
what movies have like these been in?
Is the TV series Living Dead?
The Walking Dead?
The Walking Dead, yeah. Well, okay. I have here written Living Dead, but it's kind of similar to that. I'm not sure exactly what. Actually, it's similar to, like The Walking Dead and like Resident Evil and stuff like that. This has a much more scientific explanation. Selenium is basically what creates these types of zombies. They infect the people, and essentially their body gets shut down. You watch the TV show, right? Mm-hmm. They get shut down, and then it infects the brain, and then it starts back up again. Essentially, their brain.
Even like their basic motor skills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They can't. Can they run?
Not from what my research showed. Essentially.
Right.
And what you want to think about this is essentially the brain just becomes a little tool, and then it uses the human body as a tool to do whatever it wants. The fluids in their body are typically congealed, so if you slash them over anything, blood won't really come out like that. So it doesn't really spread.
They're kind of like dried out, kind of.
Yeah.
Like deteriorating.
Yeah, see, these zombies are much more realistic type zombies, so. But essentially, they can't drown, all that kind of jazz. They don't need oxygen anymore. Although they still have their lungs and they still breathe, it's basically useless for them.
And so, basically, what I've done, and what a lot of people skip this step, and this is like probably the main, thing you want to be doing when you're brainstorming, is once you have your main character, or at least your protagonist and your antagonist figured out, you're gonna want to write a synopsis for that character. You're gonna want to write everything that happens. All the important stuff like where they were born, what their job was, what they were like growing up, how many brothers and sisters they had, if they were married, if they had children. You want to write all this stuff in there that more than likely, I have just a half a page here for a 6-minute short film. So you basically want to get as much as possible so that you can always go to that, and kind of have a little bit of, it helps you create the subtext of the character, and it'll really help you with the character development. A lot of people skip this step because they think about it, well, we don't really need to know where he was born, it's where he is now, what's he like during the zombie apocalypse, but you can kind of, call on to that, what you wrote before, and it really helps you out. And I'll probably add to this over time, so it's, a continual process. That way I always had to have something to look at. And so like I said, this is going to be a zombie film from the perspective of the main character, Charlie, who was a mechanic and stuff before he died.
Oh, I was thinking maybe having a synopsis might help with continuity too, keeping the character consistent.
Right. And I mean, short film, you don't really have to worry about that too much, but I've seen, 10-minute short films where the characters is up and down, and then they have this crazy twist at the end that, doesn't really make sense based on everything you've seen. He's like a nice guy the whole time, all of a sudden he went crazy. Maybe you show a little bit of his childhood, how he's abused or something. You don't want to just all of a sudden he's crazy. So yeah, you definitely want to consider that. You also want to determine your genre and your audience.
Oh, dang, we're only at number 2?
Yeah, we'll go through the rest real fast.
Uh-huh.
The main thing I want to talk about was the character synopsis. That's like the focus today. I'll include my character synopsis in this description so you guys can read it. And yeah, there you go. So you want to determine your genre and your audience. Obviously, our audience is YouTube. They have the attention span of a 2-year-old. And
hey.
I'm just saying. So, I mean, I've seen 30-minute, 20-minute short films that obviously aren't going to get watched more than 2 minutes. That's why our first short film was only 3 minutes long. It's like that way you could at least hope that everybody would watch all the way through, even though not everybody did.
Yeah.
Which goes to show you. So you want to determine your audience, and the audience we're going to be going for specifically is the 13 to 25 male, which is probably the most dominant quadrant of the 4 for YouTube. Yeah, I mean, don't quote me on it, but who knows? But you also want to kind of be versatile. I mean, if you only go after that one group, then you're kind of limiting yourself, because what if they don't like it? Yeah. So we're going to kind of do a mashup, not exactly in the theoretical sense, but we're going to do a mashup where it's not going to be your typical zombie film, fast cuts, super crazy, chaos going on, because it's going to be after the chaos, is over, and like basically there's zombies wandering around with a few humans left. Which a lot of zombie apocalypse are like that. For instance, 28 Days Later. Even though that's super fast cuts, super crazy cinematography to really get you emotionally involved in the terror. But this one we want to kind of like mix it up. We want to have kind of a drama aspect to it. And so we're going to have and knowing that full on, before I do the shot list, before I write the script, I know I'm going to have very slow moments, maybe 30-second long shots or long takes. And I don't think we've talked about long takes. It's just an extended take, for usually over 30 seconds or sometimes over 10 seconds. And just the camera keeps rolling basically. And usually it's a dolly shot or it's a tracking shot. And so we're going to have a lot of those. I mean, we kind of get into the character's head a little bit. I mean, if the main character's a zombie, you really can't just watch him walk around the whole time. You have to actually get into his head. And, using quick cuts, we wouldn't really be able to do that. But using a long take, you can do that. So we're going to know that ahead of time. That's something you should think about. All right, the next thing I wrote down was to research specific elements. Now, we talked about staying true to the zombie genre, and Kolton did the research. So what kind of zombie do you think would be best for the main character, Charlie, and also the zombies around him, the ones he's interacting with as he walks through this world?
Well, when I heard about Charlie and his predicament and what this was going to be about, honestly, when I read about the Romero zombies, that's what I really...
Those are like kind of the intelligent zombies, right?
Yeah, they have some memories of their past lives.
Yeah, because I don't want to give away too much. I haven't even written the script yet, but I mean, for a 6-minute zombie film featuring the zombies as the main character, he's going to really have kind of like a journey, very short journey, traveling back to his house, and kind of, what ensues then. And runtime is very important, and we talked about 6 minutes. We talked about audiences. We're going for the lower quadrants of male and female. Not so much female, but a little bit with the drama aspect of it. The relationship between the main character and his wife and his children. Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be some, a little bit of action scenes too, where we have zombies going crazy, and our main character going crazy. But the runtime is something you really want to think about before you write the script, because you don't want to find yourself overwriting a script or underwriting a script. You want to kind of like, okay, how much time do I need to write this, to tell this story? So runtime, you want to be very specific about. You want to go into writing your script knowing how long you'll need to tell this story. I mean, obviously we have specific guidelines where we want it to be on YouTube, and we have specific audiences we're going for. So we know that we want it to keep it short. But at the same time, I know 6 minutes, that's how much time, 6 to 8 minutes is how much time I need to tell this story. Might even go 10 minutes, I'm not even sure yet. Because, like I said, we're just kind of doing this as we go. But by next week, by the time I write the script, I'll know for sure around what time. And if you're over by a couple minutes, or under, that's okay, but you don't want to be drastically under or over. Because things just tend to run on. I mean, if you've seen films where the pacing is just really off, a lot of that has to do with the pre-production, the fact that they didn't really think it out. That they're like, oh, let's make a 90-minute feature film, and then you're in the same room for 20 minutes, and it's like the dialogue is kind of dragging on, and you're falling asleep. It's because they didn't really think about the runtime. Maybe that story was a 60-minute story, not a 90-minute story. So this is something you want to think about. It takes, you'll learn as you go. And I also wanted to talk about budget. This is the kind of last thing I want to talk about. And we're going to be talking about, planning and budgeting later. But like I said before, we're doing this from the independent perspective. I mean, we know most of you guys, don't have that much money, and we don't have that much money. The budget for this film is going to be about $500.
Wait. I was told it was going to be 10 grand.
You were also told Spielberg was going to be there too, huh?
Yeah. Where are you, dude? We're still waiting for the call.
I know, but that's okay. But yeah, so we gotta keep it within mind, and that's important. I don't want to talk about writing too much, but another important thing is that you want to go into your script having a realistic goal for your budget. You don't want to write a story that takes place 90% on the moon, because then you're going to need to set, and then you're going to need to figure out the physics of it all, and you're going to have wires and all that stuff. So obviously you wouldn't write that story. I mean, eventually maybe if you have $200,000 budget someday, then go for it. But you want to stay within the confines of your budget, and that's kind of why this zombie film is going to take in like the suburban, which you just see a lot of independent films take place in suburbia. But for zombie films, it makes sense. I mean, the guy's going back to his house. So I made the story kind of fit within my means, and yeah, so a lot of the budget's going to makeup and stuff like that. So we look forward to it. Our release date is scheduled right now for August 1st, if you're wondering. So for the next 2 months, we're going to kind of show you behind the scenes, plus all the stuff we're doing right here with pre-production, to kind of give you like the full idea of how we approach a short film. Hopefully, I'll help you guys out. And that's it for this week. Next time we'll be talking about screenwriting and some other fun stuff. But until then, follow us on Twitter at Aaron Hammock and
at Kolton Cash.
And follow us / like our show pages at the links below. Bye. So, what did you think about that episode?
I thought it was a lot better than usual.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't put it. I don't understand what it is, but it's just like something's there.
I think there's not enough room for both of us on camera. It's
like really?
The two egos are just, or at least my ego cannot handle it. I need to be the one lone person. But we'll try it. We got 3 to 4 more episodes to do, so we'll see how it works. See what they think. See you next week. During that time. Of course, now it's gonna come back. What? What?
Charlie eating the finger.